Whoa. How about we kiss before we fuck, Krista? Like,
It's fucking
where's
crazy
the,
stuff.
where's the, hello, welcome to CFG.
I'm so not into foreplay.
You know that video going around on Twitter of like the Indian doctors jamming the fingers in with seemingly no lube? That's Krista's version of the intro today.
It's called fisting, folks.
Zero fucks given
podcast.
Welcome to ZFG. Today we're covering the California wildfires, Trump's quest for Greenland, New York City's new congestion pricing, how Meta and Zuck are rebranding for Trump 2.0, all that and much, much more. So let's dive in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Zeros.
California has been dealing with insane wildfires. This time in LA, specifically Pacific Palisades and near Pasadena. And these, as of the time that we're filming, these are really, there's been very little progress made. And in terms of the winds, the worst is yet to come. So far we've got 150,000 residents evacuated. And of course, all the firefighters are working around the clock to deal with this. So is this Gavin Newsom's fault?
Well, there's definitely mismanagement, but I don't...
I mean, the question I have is, if he is near the fires, does he have to use less hair gel? Because an ember could... Look, guys, not a trivial question.
No. Listen. I'm sure that, when he took office in 2018, somebody came up to him and said, listen, I know you like hair gel, but now you're governor of a state that's always on fire. So I have this new hair gel that is not flammable. In fact, if you ever catch on fire, it might douse the shit.
And per his ESG policies, it probably had no petroleum in it as well. So, I don't know, it was probably just like vaginal lube or something.
Not only that, but he also believed that it made him impervious to COVID, which is why he had that COVID era soiree at French Laundry in Napa.
Look, it's, jokes aside, it's incredibly sad. I mean,
horrible. Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, I remember when I was a boy. Yes, Krista, I know you're itching to say something, but genuinely, whenever we would learn about something in geography, the Lord would always provide, and there would be like, I don't know, a flood in Bangladesh or bushfires in Australia, like all stuff in places I really don't care about. Not the countries, the people. And now, like, you're reading about all these, like, first world crazy fucking issues with fires. I mean, there was one a few years ago in Santa Rosa, I know, Carson, which was, like, really close to where you guys are. And, honestly, it's like, even if you're lucky enough that your house hasn't burnt down, the chemicals released and the kind of dust particles everywhere can like actually make a lot of this stuff uninhabitable. I mean, who knows? Again, assuming you're like lucky enough your house hasn't burned down. I mean, who knows when anyone's going to be able to move back into these places? It takes a real psychological toll. And there's this narrative out there like, oh, it's some celebrities and wealthy people. Well, they're still fucking people. And it's like really traumatic. There's like losing all these memories and pictures and things. And I don't honestly know who is quite to blame at the moment. There's all this conflicting stuff as to whether like fire department's budget was cut or not, and whether certain reservoirs were, drained.
Depleted,
It's really unclear. But it's really sad on a human level.
So yeah, I obviously when Elon Musk or whoever Trump is out there, blaming Newsom or the DEI fire chief of LA for not being able to put the fires out. I mean, that's total bullshit. But this does, to me, illustrate, and this really brings home a number of things that I've been ranting about with California for years. So the first fire that really was different, where you had all these career firefighters saying, wow, this is something new, was the 2017 Tubbs fire in Sonoma County. So that leveled a good part of Santa Rosa. And what was crazy about that one was the fire started on the east side of the 101 freeway. And so the firefighters, police, and EMS, they set up their base on the west side of the 101 freeway, which was, it's 8 lanes there, 4 lanes each way. And the fire jumped an 8-lane freeway, and it did it really quickly, and they had to run the fuck out of there. And that had the commander on scene saying that he'd never conceived of a fire that could jump an 8-lane freeway. So that was 2017. That was the wake-up call. Should have been. Now, 2018 is a gubernatorial election. Newsom had been lieutenant governor, so basically nobody credible opposed him in the primary. So he's the Democratic candidate. And, you know, California 2018, like there's no Republican is ever going to win. So Newsom basically has no opposition. And I watched this campaign because I wanted to hear what he was going to say about wildfires, and the collateral issue there is the home insurance market. I wanted to hear what he was going to say about that. And it was nothing. It was nothing at all. It was all about, you know, I mean, it really was all these pions to DEI or wokeness or whatever you call it. And so like totally devoid of substance, you know, which isn't a shock given that that's pretty much what his 2 terms have been. But where this gets to be more concrete, you know, with respect to the fires is California has a number of taxes that are specifically to somehow fight climate change. And they spend billions and billions of dollars a year fighting climate change, right? Like trying to, and the California Department of Environmental Protection brags about this. Like, oh, you know, through this program, we've prevented the emissions of blank million tons of carbon dioxide. Except when you look that up and you divide that number by the global total of CO2 emissions, it's nothing. It's nothing at all. So here's the thing. All this money's been pissed away on trying to stop something you can't stop, you can't even slow down. All right, that is money thrown away. I think it's due to narcissism on the part of a lot of Californians where we can lead the world into the transition. The world is looking to California for leadership. No, they're not. They're looking at you and laughing. And I mean, maybe not with the fires, but just like generally laughing at the stupidity of, you know, immolating all this money on something that, you know, it's not going to move the needle. California could have spent that money on burying power lines. So odds are this fire came from downed power lines. So there's only been in recent years one major fire in California, or set of fires, that didn't come from downed power lines. That was in 2020. That was a bunch of dry lightning in the summer, but that was not a high wind event. So it didn't totally, you know, it didn't run completely wild like these fires are. So yeah, California they estimate it's about $1 million to $6 million a mile to bury power lines. Like that's a lot of money, but
whoa.
Stop subsidizing solar cells and bury some fucking power lines.
There is no way that the same state that wanted to do, what was the hiking trail? It was like 100 miles of hiking trail for like $19 billion is going to be burying power lines for $1 million a mile. It's going to be like $1 million a centimeter. No fucking way.
That's true, yeah, because, you know, like every firm that, you know, even comes within like a mile of the project is going to have like, you know, union employees for everything, including the dudes that get the coffee.
Right. Not that I consider, you know, the UK the world's most motivated workforce, but I would say that probably per meter we're building the Channel Tunnel cheaper than California is going to be able to put a power line about 30 centimeters under the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, you might have a dangerous weapon in your nightstand. The UK government warns that remote-controlled sex toys are vulnerable to cyber attacks, with risks like overheating and personal data leaks. These Bluetooth-enabled sex toys could expose sensitive information, including name, sexual orientation, and intimate photos, through unsecured apps. But don't worry, it gets worse. As the tech evolves, next concern is VR and AI-powered sex robots with cameras and voice analysis that could raise even greater physical and psychological risks. Now, I know you're all thinking, well done, Freddy, for reading the Daily Mail. This was actually in the Times this weekend. I did look for the actual piece of research. I believe it was done by someone at King's College London. I couldn't track the actual piece of research down. Two things. Firstly, I love how the chess world is moving into the real world, because as as fond viewers know, a few months ago we covered the use of a vibrator to cheat in chess.
Remote control
Oh,
vibrator.
yeah.
I believe that was really just the Russians testing the technology before they were going to mash unleash it on everyone with a butt plug in the US. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing kind of had me thinking, there's, there has been a rise in like intestinal cancers in younger people. And there's a whole move to actually get people, I think, to do their first colonoscopy, like in their maybe late 30s, early 40s, opposed to like previously 50s. So my thinking is like, look, why don't we combine the two here? Okay, like just give everyone that's not gonna like do the whole prep for a colonoscopy, just give every like 35-year-old male a butt plug. Look. You leave a butt plug around long enough and like enough recreational drugs, people are going to eventually get curious. I sure as fuck know that Krista is. And once it gets hacked by the Russians or the Chinese, just be like, look, we can verify that your narrow rectal passage doesn't have any polyps. Much better than excess science. And you know what? As someone once said to me, I've never met an ex-gay person. It must be pretty fucking good. So you might find out you like it. Seems like a win-win for me.
And hey, ex-gay, well, ex-lesbian. But I just, if this happens, I just hope the hackers release openly a list of all the squirters.
Oh my God.
That's what I want to know.
Jesus.
Like, who around me is a squirter?
Oh,
Wait a minute. Speaking of squirters, Mr. Squirter himself.
So Donald Trump is grabbing something new for a change. This time it's land, but not just any land, Greenland and the Panama Canal for national security reasons. So Trump did say he hasn't ruled out using military force to take them. Even more terrifying than the return of colonialism, Trump's quest for Greenland could even make Ozempic more expensive because of his favorite negotiating tactic, threatening tariffs. What do you think?
So did you read the FT's piece, Carson, on on the cost of the economic rationale behind Greenland, or the fair price for Greenland?
That was the Alphaville research piece, right? The equity research piece that has a strong buy or conviction buy on Greenland, valuing it at 1.1 trillion.
Yep. Okay, so I thought that had some good takes. I guess what I love about this is he floats these things out there, and initially everyone's like, ha 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 ha. And then he just waits for people to kind of like fill in the gaps on, is this possible? What would the economic benefit be? What would the cost be? And kind of like crowdsources whether this shit lands. And before you know it, I don't know. I haven't gone on that polychain betting thing because, since not being able to bet on Brian, whatever his name is, nighttime erections, I lost interest. But I bet there's a decent betting market going on whether this guy's actually going to take Greenland.
Hey, why can't you bet on his nighttime erections? Isn't that on the market?
Yeah, I just couldn't figure out how to get an account up and running, and like probably like our general counsel would say it's like a compliance thing.
It's going long.
But I mean, look, the Panama Canal legitimately not the worst idea.
Well, okay, so a few things. So with Greenland, I think there's a point here, which is Greenland is obviously strategic for its mineral reserves, especially rare earths, because China's trying to really control that supply. Also, passageways through the Arctic. So it's very strategic, and I think part of the point here is that the Chinese are trying to move in on this. So they actually tried to build some facilities there, and just the U.S. Government, we strongly opposed it. So Denmark said no, or Greenland, whoever makes the decision, said no. But the thing is, Denmark, which is responsible for its defense, has effectively no defense commitment there. They have a handful of troops, like, a couple small boats, apparently, like no ability to defend it. And also they just, I get I think that nobody's really taking seriously that the Chinese need to be deterred from coming near there and need to be stopped from exploiting Greenland. I mean, at least from the US and Western Europe's perspective. So, and this goes back to the theme that Trump has been pushing correctly since his first term, which is that most of the Europeans are really a bunch of pussies when it comes to defense. And they're not manning up on their NATO contributions. And in this case as well. So, yeah, I mean, like, something's got to be done to turn the screws, because under Article 5, we're obligated to defend these guys if someone attacks them. So, yeah, I think we do have the right, and Trump's correct, to demand in return that this is a strategic location, protect this, and reassure us. So there's that. In the Panama Canal, it's similar right now to Diego Garcia in the UK, right? Like, because, why did we ever give the Panama Canal back? Like, that was stupid, right? It honestly was stupid. And it's done probably, I don't know the history behind the give back the Panama Canal, but what's going on with the UK right now and Diego Garcia, which is strategic, is, like, the left there, it wants to give it back. Like, why? Like, fuck that. Like, it really, these are strategic, shouldn't be giving them up, especially as we go toward a time period that's going to be, there are going to be some real conflicts. I mean, hopefully not World War III, but we're obviously going into a more contentious time. Like, stop, giving your fucking strategic territories away.
Agreed. Now, to turn to the tariffs in Mozambique, I think that could really backfire, and this is why. We've just passed Hanukkah. Some of you guys celebrate Christmas, a lesser festival, and I've noticed that kids basically get Lego as presents. So if we were to put tariffs on Mozambique, they could put tariffs on Lego. Not only would that be incredibly inflationary, but, like, man, if you can't get as many Lego sets as your kids require, like, they are going fucking apeshit. So that could really, really backfire on the US if, Denmark gets serious and wants to drop the Lego atom bomb on us from a tariff perspective. So obviously I think President-elect Trump does probably watch this, or at least gets the cliff notes from his most trusted advisors. So if you are watching, or Vivek or JD or any of the elite inner circle there, just think about the Lego tariffs a little bit, okay, guys? We don't want to go tit for tat on that. Pakistan International Airlines has resumed direct flights to Europe after a 4-year ban that cost the airline nearly $150 million a year in revenue. The ban was imposed in 2020 after a fatal PIA crash, which revealed that a third of Pakistani pilots has cheated on their exams. Why didn't I know that? The first post-ban flight from Islamabad to Paris was fully booked with over 300 passengers. As for now, the airline is only offering flights twice a week to Europe. I wasn't that interested in actually bringing you that fact that Pakistani airline pilots were cheating. what I was really drawn to is their latest advert. And I think this kind of speaks for itself.
I mean, what the fuck, right? Like, what this is, and we know people listen to this and they don't see it, but okay, so this is a shot of, on the right, the Eiffel Tower, and then there's a big French flag in kind of in the background in the sky, so it's translucent, you can see the clouds. And there's a statement that reads, very large font, Paris, we're coming today. And it shows a plane flying into the Eiffel Tower. Into the Eiffel fucking Tower. Like, you cannot make this up. I mean, this is so ominous. Like, I'm like, are they gaslighting the West? Like, are they deliberately, fucking with us? Or are they in their advertising agency this clueless?
This is going to grab them.
To hit the Eiffel Tower for fucking Pakistani International Airways. It's not a great idea.
I wonder if it wasn't the advertising agency that also did that Jaguar rebrand, and they're like, look, we really got to distract from what a fuck up that was.
Wait, what rebrand?
The
Jaguar
car commercial rebrand, which, they looked at their demographic, which is probably like 55-year-old white European males, and they made it look like the United Colors of Benetton had gone woke, and removed, I think, the only thing that people really liked about Jaguar, which was like the cat, and made the logo something totally different. And then at the same time, they unveiled something that looked like a boxcar had made love to like a CAD machining tool or something. It was fucking awful. And actually, no, that's not true. It looked like the attachment I got my wife for her birthday that goes on the vacuum and shows you all the extra dust in the house, which, by the way, she fucking loved. So if your wife is difficult to buy presents for and likes hoovering, I strongly recommend that. $10.99 on Amazon, and I'm not getting a single dime of product placement at the time of recording. So yeah, it's it's a remarkable piece of advertising. Either they're gaslighting us, or I got to tell you, if it weren't for this article, I never would have known that they fly from Pakistan to Paris, to places I don't really want to go.
I never would have known they have planes capable of flying that far.
Now you know.
I mean, let's just remind listeners and viewers, in case you forgot, this is the country where bin Laden hid out for many years, about 10 years after 9/11. So it's not.
Sorry, let's clarify.
It's not Islamophobia when it's really happening.
Yeah, let's clarify that for viewers. We're talking about Pakistan, not France.
So Mark Zuckerberg is not so subtly bending the knee to Trump in advance of his inauguration. The Meta CEO announced that Meta will, I'm not going to call this thing Meta, because we covered that, how that was basically, they changed the name, I'm sure, because the Wall Street Journal was running those damning articles about, how they knew they were causing teenage suicide and, decided not to do anything about it. So, like when that was going on, Mark Zuckerberg probably had this weak out moment, like, we need to change the name. Like, okay, Mark, we're about to film this commercial. Like, the commercial that unveiled the name change was horrible, right? Like, again, that looked like somebody, it's not as bad as like the Pakistani International Airlines ad.
No, it's not.
But it was just, somebody, like throwing this together in about like 7 minutes. But anyway, so I think Zuckerberg was taking a shit and they're like, hey, what's the name of the new company? Meta. Okay, done. Right. So then they did the ads. So it's Facebook. All right. So the Facebook CEO announced that Facebook will scrap third-party fact checking and implement a community notes style of moderation similar to Twitter. Let's not go with the new name on that motherfucker. Anyway, Zuckerberg said the company is also bringing back political content on its platforms, and removing restrictions on subjects like immigration and gender. So, which is cool because there are a few times that I know we tried to run ads for ZFG on Facebook and we were unable to because, we were like laughing about some story involving something political and it got branded or labeled as political content and we couldn't advertise it on Facebook. So anyway, this will be less annoying. Then Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan to explain this. And he also argued on the Joe Rogan podcast that corporations need more, quote, masculine energy. And he said that corporate culture has been neutered, quote, neutered, and to embrace aggression. He credits martial arts for his newfound masculinity, which I want to emphasize, this is newfound, okay? Like, when masculinity needs this dude as its champion,
we're in trouble.
We got some, like, this is not the dude you think of, when you're like, oh, who's a real man out there? It's like, oh, Stallone, but fucking this guy.
So the question is, if Zuckerberg's serious about his masculinity, I think he needs to get a betting market up, measuring his daytime erections, and then we'll know if the guy's fucking serious. If he's walking around Facebook with just like a stonking boner the whole time, I'll be like, all right, this guy's actually finally getting fucking serious about daytime masculinity. So this about pivot is kind of interesting. On one hand, he owns like $100 billion worth of Facebook stock. It's like a couple $1 trillion company. I never look at it, so I have no fucking idea. But, on one hand, you're kind of looking at this thinking, yeah, you're the CEO, you control all the votes. Yeah, you probably want the CEO to bend the knee to whichever political party you're in and, stop him getting either broken up under the Democrats or, too heavily looked at in terms of is turning a blind eye to killing children. And under Trump, yeah, he probably, doesn't want to have any ire directed at him. What is interesting, though, it will be to see whether this actually impacts ads, because allowing more political discussion, naturally what we've seen in social media is like the extremes of where we want to spend our time down rabbit holes, and that creates more engagement. So, will that have the effect of turning off advertisers the same way it did with Twitter or not? So that I think will be quite interesting to see. And the other thing is, the adding of Dana White to the board is just like so out of left field. I mean, that does not look like look, he's a brilliant brand builder, to be fair to him, but that does not look like a guy who really knows what the fuck he's doing with computers. So, flicking back to chess, female chess players are now banned from showing cleavage at European tournaments, with a dress code requiring a harmonious, complete look. Spectators and male players have gone so far as to complain to the European Chess Union, claiming women's outfits were too revealing. The guidelines now allow women to unbutton only the 2 top buttons, while men must wear crisp shirts and odor-free pants.
What?
Well, if you think that's distracting, imagine if your opponent is on the squirter list.
Oh my God.
So I guess, we've spent an extensive amount of time with chess on this podcast relative to the amount of time that any of us actually play chess. And it seems like there is a seriously fucking nasty subculture in chess. I mean, odorous pants were clearly being worn, so it's unclear how exactly that is vetted. Like, is there a line of dudes in their boxers while the official judge will give it a little sniff and then you either get the thumbs up or the thumbs down?
Yeah, but that one, okay, so we've covered some stories about cheating in chess. And we also did ask at one point why competitive chess was segregated. And
boxing
said,
is in the French Olympics.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, we we understood at the time that the reason that chess is segregated is because women, it's believed that women have different, are generally less willing to take risk than men are, so they play differently. Why that doesn't mean they can't compete head to head, I don't know, because that'd be interesting to see risk aversion versus risk taking. But now we know it's actually because that cleavage is distracting. And look, I also do want to clarify here. I mean, the thing about men not wearing odorous pants, I doubt that was really dudes searching for edge. I just have a feeling. I mean, there are so many people who are just, I mean, like never leave the house who are serious chess players, right? Like these,
right? And
these
do you think that they're playing and they're like they don't want to go to the bathroom and they're just like, I'm just gonna pee?
I think they just don't know how to wipe properly or don't think about it. I mean, there are a few times in my life I've sat near somebody who
really
has that kind of smell, and it's not armpit. It's like, I mean, it's like ass crack on steroids, right? And you're just thinking, like, I think this dude, it's not even I think this dude's got a dangler or clinger that he just left in there, and he pulled his pants up a little too quickly. So
what?
That's probably a thing in chess where there are like lots of dudes. I don't even know if they, if it's because it's a clinger. It's more just because they don't care. So anyway, I have a feeling the odorous pant rule is not because dudes were looking for an edge that way. I think it's just sort of a natural outgrowth of men who are serious chess players.
Apple has agreed to pay $95 million to settle claims that Siri secretly recorded users and shared their private chats with advertisers. An estimated tens of millions of users could get up to $20 per Siri-enabled device like iPhones and Apple Watches.
I've become a fan of Siri. So I hate these open microphone devices. It's so creepy. It's going to be the mother of all blackmail. By the way, I saw a mediocre Netflix movie the other day called Luther. Stars Idris Elba, who's fucking
that's
awesome.
Not mediocre. Have you never seen
it is.
Luther?
But
series?
No, I don't know. This was a movie, so I don't know if it's serious. But
the series is really fucking good.
Well, where I was going with this is Luther's nemesis, and I didn't know there was a series, but Luther's nemesis is some dude who's got this operation where they've hacked all of these open mics across the UK. So they're just like blackmailing the shit out of everybody. But so yeah, that's like, we've never had one of those devices in our home. We'll never get one, but we do have phones, and Siri is on one of the phones. Siri is enabled, and here's the thing: Siri, from a technology perspective, Siri does suck. Like, it turns on all the time. But here's why I've become a fan. See, I've got 2 young kids, and they're elementary school age kids, and elementary schools they're just too soft, man. They make these kids so soft. Like, they are not allowed to have any confrontation at all with anybody, right? Like, it's just, and that's not how to raise, I think, a resilient, successful human. So where Siri comes into play here is that stupid fucking thing turns on all the time thinking that somebody is talking to it. And so my kids get to scream at it in the most aggressive ways. Like, it's a verbal punching bag for my kids, because they don't get to do that in elementary school anymore, right? So they get to, tell it to shut up. And then, my older kid gets to yell obscenities at it and we'll get in trouble. So, it's actually like, it's very helpful because it's so bad. So that's why I've become a fan of Siri. It can help you say the nastiest, rudest shit you want to somebody, right? Like, it actually kind of feels like you're telling a person, to choke on your dick. It's cool.
So I don't know if Siri still has this issue, but when I lived in Hong Kong, like that was around the time like Siri first came out, and it really struggled with Singaporean accents. And there were
man, who doesn't?
But there were all these phenomenal videos with Singaporeans talking to Siri and getting these like completely nonsensical answers back. So, we're going to be in Singapore in like a month or so. So it'll be interesting to see if the AI has developed and it can understand Singaporeans better than we generally can.
So, great Siri story. My father, who, as one guy put it, when he failed to mute himself out, but as one guy put it, listening to my father sounds like he's older than dirt. And that was 20 years ago. So, my father came to our place, recently, and he goes to the gym every day. So he wanted to call 24-hour fitness. I think it was a holiday. It was like, Christmas Eve or something. So he wanted to call the 24-hour fitness near us and ask if they were open. So we gave him an iPhone to borrow. So next thing you know, like we hear this, "You dumb fuck! What time do you close today? God damn it! What time do you close?" You walk in. My wife and I walk in. And like somehow my father's activated Siri. He's not talking to the gym. But he thinks he's talking to the gym and that they're either like super stupid or
That's
they're
fantastic.
fucking with him. And so he starts like calling Siri a cunt. And I mean, it's just like, it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So, we took a few hours before we waited a while. Like, man, what kind of morons do they hire at these places? New York City just became the first city in the U.S. to roll out congestion pricing. Drivers in New York now have to pay $9 to enter Manhattan below 60th Street during peak hours. Supporters say it'll cut traffic, clean the air, and funnel cash into the MTA and public transit. Meanwhile, critics call it just another tax.
Krista, you still going to be driving into the city?
No. I got
So
rid
Krista,
of my... Yeah. Yes.
Given that you've always been a bridge and tunnel woman, and you've never like been in any of the cool places in New York City, because you're telling us to go to Monkey Bar, in 2022. How do you think this would affect you if you were still living in Westchester County?
I mean, it wouldn't, because I took Metro North and we had a good subway. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I barely drove in. And then when I moved to Brooklyn, I got rid of my Jeep.
You didn't really live in Brooklyn. That's all lies.
You had a Jeep?
Okay. Yeah.
Like a Jeep?
Cherokee.
Oh?
Cherokee, Laredo. Anyway, so like this didn't really...
That shit's dope for New York City, man. Like LL Cool J. I mean, he was Queens.
I know, it was just, it was a
dude drove
pain in
around
the
in a
ass
Jeep.
to like, go park it and whatever. And we had a really good subway system. So when I lived there, so yeah, I got rid of it. So I'm all for this. I don't live there anymore, but.
Well, that's easy to be for something that doesn't
for
affect
it.
you. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm for every city in the world except Austin putting in congestion pricing. That's awesome. Maybe I'll visit there once in my lifetime and, enjoy a quick ride across town.
So is this also going to affect like municipal workers? And I mean, what if you have like a garbage truck and pickups and deliveries and stuff? I mean, I assume it affects basically everyone, right?
Yeah, well, I think that the head of either the EMS or fire department there said that this will. It sounded like he's being a little sensationalist to me, but he's like, this will cost lives. But he made the point that a lot of first responders drive to work, and so because they can't afford to live on the Upper West Side or try back up, and so they drive to work. And that they won't drive as a result of the additional charges. And this is going to make it harder for them to get to work on time, especially on short notice or responding, at the drop of a hat. Although I'd like to think if there were another 9/11 that guys would pony up for the $9 here. But yeah, I don't know. Initially I kind of shrugged my shoulders, but then the only thought I had in the back of my head is, is this due to the cycling terrorists? Because that's something I not, you know, let's not call them cycling terrorists. It's like, is this due to the confiscatory cycling communists? You know, and I find that there's a correlation between the prevalence of bike lanes and the prevalence of left-wing authoritarianism in a given place. I really do believe that, like 100%. And you know, the whole thing with bike lanes, I mean, they start shutting down streets that are important or taking away parking to put in bike lanes. And a lot of these bike lanes like don't really coexist with traffic. And it's just dangerous for both sides. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, when somebody gets hit by a car cycling in a city, I'm almost like, yeah, you know, like you assumed a risk there. You know, it's just I just don't like. I really, really dislike how all these cities are emphasizing or are prioritizing cycling over cars. And I just, if this comes from that place, then I'm 100% against it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other issue is because, you know, London has a congestion charge. It's not going to stay at $9.
No.
Like, that's just like, we test this out, put the tip in, and then come back in a couple of years' time. Oh, it turns out it was really great, and we can raise it to 25. So that's, you know, that's the other issue here. It's you break the dam, and then you keep pushing from there.
Yeah, 100%. That will go up. I mean, going through the tunnels to get to New York City, I forget what the current price is, but I mean, it's multiples of what it was when, you know, in the 1990s. I mean, it's, you know, I think it was like $6 back then, and I think we're about $20 now. It's crazy.
Really?
I'm gonna look this up right now.
I was just looking. I remember like the Tappan Zee Bridge was super expensive.
Let's see here. So the toll for the Holland Tunnel, if you don't have Easy Pass, is $18. And if you do have Easy Pass, it's $14 to $16.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's insane.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, and like the direction New York's been going in, it's not making itself more attractive to go there. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't want to move back, but I'm just...
I mean, we were all of us.
I
we
know,
were going to move
God.
there in summer of 2020. Like, that was the plan, you know, from
and I was
2018
like so
onward.
excited. I know.
Yeah. And then, COVID happened, and then it was just laid bare like a lot of the problems that were created by years of mismanagement under de Blasio.
So to wrap this up, I was in Miami last week, and as part of being there, I was like, oh, let's see if there's any fun activities. And one of the possible trips you can do in Bal Harbour for the low price of $99 is take a kayak out to some mangroves to see raccoons. And this got me thinking, like, $99, and then there's like a little disclaimer saying you might actually not see any raccoons. And I was like, wow, we literally have raccoons living under a house, probably causing all kinds of damage, but my wife is an animal lover, and I like them too. They're very cute. They've had like multiple generations of babies, so we can't bring ourselves to call an exterminator to relocate them because we just think they're going to be murdered. So I was thinking, well, maybe I set up a business, you know, and like my little patio, there's like a deck, and I could have that as a viewing platform, get people to come around the side of the house, pay me $100 to go to watch it. And I was like, it seems like a lot of fucking effort. And coinciding with this, I just got my property tax bill, which is the second most miserable bill that I get for tax. And I was going through the whole like property tax protest where you kind of like find some comps, look for, you know, lower valuations around you and argue that your house should be assessed at a lower value. And it kind of got me thinking. So I was spending a little bit of time in the tax code, and it turns out there is an exemption It is Section 1118 if you are a charitable organization. And specifically, it addresses medical facilities. I was kind of thinking, on the basis that we don't really want to run a business and charge for people, why don't we just turn this into a raccoon sanctuary? People can come round the side of the house, but only view from the side of the house. And I'm looking into the possibilities whether, giving a little bit of occasional medical treatment to raccoons would exempt me from my property tax. So, if this succeeds and you're in the Austin area, I'm happy to split the saving with you once I've obviously, got this through. And so if you are looking either for a raccoon or to turn your property into a raccoon sanctuary / veterinary practice, hit me up and, we'll split the saving.
So why actually permit people to come alongside your house? I mean, after all, this is Texas, and one of the rights you have...
What was that? I don't understand.
One of the rights you have in Texas is to shoot anybody who, might be on your property. So don't waive that, but just put a webcam there, or even better, a sex toy.
A sex toy?
Yeah, with the camera.
Probably.
Going back to our hacked sex toy story.
The Chinese dude hacking the sex toy to watch it will just think he's got to the sex toy inside Richard Gere's asshole. He'll think it's panda, trash panda.
Animal sanctuary. Yes, that makes sense. Inside Mr. Gere's asshole, there are many animals taking sanctuary.
So that's the possible issue. But I don't know. Like I said, it's a work in practice. If I find myself in front of some sort of tax board review, I want you to know I'm taking this very seriously. I am looking at all the possibilities here, and so that's...
And look, if they don't agree to that, then I think you should say, hey, my house isn't worth that much because I've got a bunch of raccoons living underneath it. Nobody would really pay as much as you're assessing it for to buy it.
That's true. And the sad reality is, one day my house might not be worth anything because if the raccoons are eating shit underneath the house, it actually might collapse. So, we're going to have to deal with these competing issues. But anyway, so that's where I'm at on tax prep for the year.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Zero.
Given. Podcast.